Hi, everyone. So great that you are joining me for this live. I'm literally in the Salt Lake City airport, but I wanted to jump on the live. I'm connecting, heading to DC. As you all know, the Midas Touch, we're hosting the People's Union with Move On. So I will definitely have even more to talk about that. But I want to tell you a story about Nancy Pelosi. So I was just at the California Democratic Convention in San Francisco, and Nancy Pelosi was honored and she gave a speech. And she talked about how she got into politics. I've heard, I have not heard this particular anecdote. You guys will have to tell me if you have heard this before. I mean, first of all, I'll let some people join too. Senator Schiff actually, a bunch of people gave speeches before she gave her speech. Senator Schiff gave a speech. He was the last one before Nancy Pelosi went up. And it was literally the best speech I have ever heard Adam Schiff give, like bar none. I really wish I could find a recording of this. In fact, I might ask him this when I see him tomorrow at the People's State of the Union. It was funny and great. And he gave this anecdote about how he was one time in a sailboat in the San Francisco harbor with Nancy Pelosi, and they were like in the middle of the storm. And they were all getting drenched. And somebody asked whether or not, hey, maybe we should take the sails down and just motor back onto shore. And Nancy said, well, we could, but that would be the cowardly thing to do. And that wasn't how it was done in the San Francisco harbor. So they went ahead and sailed back to the harbor, which was just his way of talking about her strength and resiliency. When she came on stage, she talked about how she got into politics. She was friends with somebody, perhaps it was a state senator or maybe even the speaker of the California State Senate. And Jerry Brown was deciding to run for governor. This is back in the 70s during his first turn. And just as now we have in California moved our primary for president from June to March. The rest of our primaries, like this year for governors and et cetera, is still in June. But back then in the 70s, the primary was in June still. And she said, well, by the time June comes around, the presidency is already going to be decided. And she was from Maryland. And she said she knew that on Maryland, you could actually get on the ballot even if you weren't in Maryland. And so she had him, Jerry Brown, go back to Maryland. And she said she traveled with him and she took like 3 of her kids and they traveled around the state of Maryland for 3 weeks. And Jerry Brown won the state of Maryland. And so they go back to California and he basically says that like she's this political mastermind because she, had him win the state of Maryland. And so with that accolade, I guess you could say, by Jerry Brown, she then decided to run for the vice chair of the California Democratic Party. And then she became the chair of the Democratic Party and then ran for Congress. And of course, we know the story of that. But I thought that was really cool. And evidently, when she became Speaker of the House, she said that Jerry Brown then came to the House and said, basically, this is all because of me, because, he helped launch her career by her helping him with his presidential run. So I had never actually heard that particular story about how she got into politics, but I thought that was interesting. Jerry Brown, I've loved Jerry Brown. This last time he became governor of California, he was, I thought, a fantastic governor. And so anyway, so that was a really great conference. The delegates, there was about 3,000 of us. I've been a delegate for the California Democratic Party since January of 2021. And we get together every year. And delegates are not, I saw somebody online talk about, delegates are like political consultants or paid consultants. It's not that at all. It is the people that are most involved in your community. It's the Democratic clubs. Like I'm on my city's commission. It's people that are very engaged, average, normal people. And we get together and it's like a mini, I guess, test or vote. We get to interact with candidates. We get to ask questions and then we vote. And the vote is not an anonymous vote, by the way. Our vote as delegates can be seen. So there's like a little bit of an interesting thing there because you can't say, hey, I'm going to support you and then vote for somebody else. It's not anonymous. They all know who is supporting them and who isn't supporting them. So we got together to vote. I don't know if you've heard, but nobody was endorsed in any of the major statewide races because there were just so many people who ran. So the governor's race is still very much in play. Swalwell got the most votes, but it was still only in the 20s. If you want, I got a clip of him. I think I posted out my Substack and other places. And then second was Betty Yee, which maybe not a lot of people have heard of. She doesn't have much name recognition, but delegates know about her. She has been in state office before, and she's the kind of person who's like does the work, but just hasn't had a very high profile office. And then third was Becerra, who he has been the former Attorney General of California, the former Health and Human head, what RFK Jr. is having now. So, and then Tom Steyer, and then lower was Katie Porter. So it'll be interesting to see if anybody bows out gracefully after this race. Otherwise, California has a risk of not having a Democrat on the ticket because our primaries in the state of California are the two highest vote getters in the primary end up going on to November. So it could either be two Democrats, it could be two Republicans, or it can be a Democrat and Republican. Last year for the Senate seat, when Senator Schiff won, Katie Porter, Barbara Lee, and Schiff were all running. And it ends up getting kind of interesting because the Democrat will actually end up, like Schiff ends up spending money to prop up the Republican. And this happened also in the governor's race when Newsom was running against Vera Vergosa. He propped up the Republican candidate because the Democrat knows in the general, they're better off against a Republican and not a Democrat. So it's a really interesting situation. But unfortunately, because the two Republicans are also polling about in the 20s, it's a little bit scary. If all of the Democrats continue in the race, they might dilute the ticket so much you could possibly not have a. Are you in an airplane bathroom? I'm not in a bathroom. I'm in one of those workspaces where you get to close the door just because I didn't want everybody to hear all this tea, as you would say. But anyway, so yeah, so that is the story about that. The governor's race. This morning, I was actually inside the Nick Reiner criminal hearing, little true crime to the side. That's one of the hats I wear as the Access Hollywood true crime legal analyst. And he just pled not guilty, not yet, not guilty by insanity. I could probably do a whole other Substack just in that. But yeah, so headed to the People's State of the Union. When I spoke to the Congress people in San Francisco, they were super excited to attend the Midas Touch Move On event. And I'm super excited to be there as well and getting a chance to talk to everybody. It's going to be freezing. We're going to be outside. So my California self had packed my warmest clothes, but it may not be warm enough because I think I have to check in a few hours before the event, and then the event will last a few hours. And obviously, as you know, they just kind of finished with a blizzard. So it's going to be really cold, but I will, definitely send me any questions you want in the Substacks. I'm so glad Midas organized this with Move On because I'm so sick of Trump's lies. And I don't know if you saw, but Trump already put out a fundraising email about the fact that people are boycotting him. The best way to trigger Trump is to take away his audience. It's all about an audience with him. And so I'm really glad to take away his audience. I mean, how could you sit there and just not... There's somebody had a Nick Reiner question. Is he's not guilty? Okay. Yeah, that was strange about his prior lawyer. Really unclear to know if that was a money thing or something else. Really unclear to know why he steps aside. But in terms of, so it's going to be a really exciting event. I'm really glad we're taking away Trump's audience. The idea of sitting there and listening to his lies while he acts as if this is his personal country and totally abolishes laws, tears families apart. It's so disgusting. It is not business as usual. He's not acting like business as usual. So why are we playing into that game? I'm so glad we're not playing into that game. Excited to hear so many of our elected leaders coming over to the People's Union. And it's time for me to catch my flight, folks. Sorry, this one wasn't very long, but I wanted to jump on, give you a little tidbit. I will keep doing these. Send me messages, but I'll hop on again soon. See you all in DC.